Happy New Year. I hope the first half of the month has treated you well. I have had a lot of free time on my hands lately, and one of my New Year's resolutions is to lose some weight, so I've been doing a lot of walking. I figured this would be a good time for me to get some thoughts out of my head and share with you about my experiences and perspective when it comes to conservation and wildlife. So for the last year, I've been working very close with some very unique species. Chief among them are white rhinos. And what I've learned in working with them is that a lot of people have either misconceptions or just simply don't know how these animals are doing right now. So I thought I'd share some light on it. When I often ask people that I work with, what do they think about rhinos? What are the impressions that they get? Often folks are saying, oh, well, they're these big hulking tanks that tear down and destroy anything in their path. And being a bit hyperbolic, but they'll say something along those lines. And I get why a lot of people will have that understanding of them, because pop culture has trained us to think that these are aggressive and like territorial animals, and they are very much territorial. But part of the reason why they're in such conflict with people is because we're taking up a lot of their space, I'm learning. In Africa, what's happening is, and again, all of Africa it's not a monolith, but in very specific countries, there's a lot of habitat loss. Birth rates are going up in many places in Africa, and because of this, we're building more farms, we're building more cities, and all of this means more food, and more food needs more water, and we're just taking a lot of resources from a lot of native wildlife, especially the large ones, such as rhino. Now, in Africa, there are two major species, or really two main species of rhino that we should talk about. There's the black rhinoceros, which is a lot more solitary than their closest relative, the northern white rhino, which honestly is in really big trouble right now because there's only two left in the world, and they're a mother-daughter pair, so they're labeled functionally extinct for that reason. And then their closest cousin, or the same species just regionally different, is the southern white rhino, which liberal estimates put them at about 20,000 individuals worldwide, specifically in Africa, but more conservative estimates are about 16,000 individuals, which is, in my mind, pretty alarming. That's good, though, because if you think about their numbers in recent decades or even the last century, there has been a huge increase in their population since the 1970s, where about the early 70s, there were less than 200 individuals, if you can believe it. But then if you go 50 years prior to that, in the 1910s, 1916, 20 area, there were less than 100 individuals. Now, what fascinates me about this is because we noticed that their numbers were going down, we noticed that there was a problem here, we actually got together as a community, the scientific community got together and basically saved this particular rhinoceros from extinction. Now, we can't say that about their northern cousins. There's only two left, though we'll talk more about this later and how we can help that particular subspecies. But the southern white rhino has been brought back from extinction, but it doesn't mean we're out of the woods, though. We brought them out of extinction, but we still have a lot of work to do to making sure that their numbers either continue to increase or we keep them stable. As I mentioned, habitat loss is now, today, the biggest issue that rhinos are facing. Often when I talk about conservation for rhinos, people think that their biggest problem is poaching. And poaching is a problem. However, in the last 50 years or so, poaching has been on the decline, which is good. It still happens, but it doesn't happen nearly as much as it did in the 30s, 40s, 50s. But now we're replacing it with human conflict and habitat loss. Now, before I continue, I'm gonna run by those numbers with you again, so we're on the same page on how many rhinos we're talking about here. Going back to the black rhinoceros, the more solitary of the species, There are about 6,000 individuals left. Not great, but that's better than 2 compared to the white rhino. White rhinos, there are 2 subspecies. The northern white rhino is functionally extinct, and there's only 2 individuals, a mother and a daughter. And then the southern white rhino, how you guys doing? Have a good day. And then the southern white rhino, that number at one point were less than 200 individuals, even before that 100, but today there are now 16,000 or 20,000, depending on who you ask, individuals, which is good. And so now, let's talk about each species individually. Hi guys, how you doing? Have a good day. Now, I'll fully admit, when it comes to the black rhinoceros, I don't know terribly too much about them, except that their specialized diets are usually specific to like shrubs and low-hanging trees. So those guys, they're going to be in more scrub areas, definitely in the savannas, but closer to the forested areas where they're a lot more secluded, right? They're probably a little bit darker than the white rhinoceros, though we'll talk later about how the name white rhinoceros is a bit of a misnomer. So if you look at a picture of a black rhinoceros, you know you're looking at a black rhinoceros because if you look at the lip, it has a more of a triangular, articulate lip. Have you ever seen a rhino and it looks like they're twitching their lip like a little bitty trunk? This is so that they can help better grab those branches and grab low-hanging food from trees and so on. Their cousin, the white rhino, this guy, if you look at them, their lips are going to be a lot more square. In fact, the name white rhino is actually a misnomer. It comes from a mistranslation from, I believe it's Afrikaans, which if you take the literal translation, it actually means wide rhino, not white. However, the name white rhino, in contrast to the black rhino, just stuck, and so now that's how we have the name today. But because of this wide lip that the white rhino has, they're not browsers. These are grazers. Think of horses, cows. They're out in the grasses. They're mowing the lawn. I often call them nature's lawn mowers. They're going to be eating the grasses. And this is where we're often going to find them in the savannas, in the grass fields, which is why habitat loss has hit them the hardest, because people are going to build their farmlands, they're going to build their villages near where water is, they're going to build it where there's not as many trees. And so this is how the white rhino, even though they're at the highest population of rhinos right now, if we don't do something in these areas in the next 40, 50 years, we're going to lose this animal in great number. And all that work we've done to protect them might be undone. So now you know a little bit about the hard facts, what they are and how many there are. But if we're going to help protect this animal, and my job is to help you care about them, I'm going to give you several reasons why we should care about these animals, specifically the white rhino. One of my favorite things about this animal is that they are the most family-oriented species of rhino in the world. In this video, I'm talking about African rhinos, but we have, 3 more rhinos from Asia that we can talk about, and let me know if that's something you'd like me to discuss later. But of the 5 known species of rhinoceros, the southern white rhino is the last one that we know is very family-oriented. They're the only herd species of rhino, which, if you didn't know, you call a herd of rhino a crash. And so they're family oriented, and the main reason why is because when a rhino is born, for the first 2 years of its life, it's vulnerable to predators. Imagine, if you're a mother, when you give birth, your baby is nearly 100 pounds. And for the next 2 years, lions and hyenas are looking for a quick meal out of your baby. Now here's the thing, with other rhino species, predators such as lions and hyenas aren't around. If anything, like the black rhino, leopards are going to be a problem. But leopards are solitary predators. They don't hunt in packs. Lions, they hunt in prides. The ladies do most of the work. Hyenas, they work very close together to make sure they bring down a large prey animal. So, for the first 2 years of its life, mom needs to help baby reach adulthood. But you can imagine, if you're a mother rhinoceros, even though you could weigh somewhere between 45 to 6,000 pounds, 44,500 to 6,000 pounds, you can't protect your baby from 9 to 12 lions. So she's recruiting the help from her sister, her mother, her auntie, grandma. The matriarchy of the crash are going to come together to make sure those babies reach adulthood. And if you're a family person, that's reason enough to care about this animal, especially considering they're the only rhinos that do this. Other species of rhino, just like the black rhinoceros in Asia, the big predator there are tigers. Tigers, just like leopards, are not pack animals. They're solitary. So imagine this. The white rhino, 100 years ago, we almost lost this animal. 100 individuals, and they were the only ones that we can say for certainty were family animals. In fact, back in the time, we didn't know this about them. This is relatively recent. But now that we know this, I'm blown away that we almost lost this animal and we didn't know that they're so family oriented and so protective of each other. And if that wasn't enough for you, if that wasn't enough, another reason to care about these animals is how much we can relate to them. So let's think of it this way. Rhino horn. It is not a horn. A true horn. You can find these in antelope and cattle. A true horn has a bone center and it's wrapped in keratin. If you don't know what keratin is, that is the protein that makes up our hair and nails, like my mustache here. So it's a protein that makes up that. So, rhinoceros, not a bone in there. If you look at a rhinoceros horn, it is pure keratin, which means that you can cut off a rhinoceros horn and it will not hurt it. Now, no rhino is going to willingly give up its horn, which is why poachers kill them. It's much cheaper to kill a rhino than it is to sedate it and take its horn away. Which is a shame because unlike other animals, taking off its horn will not hurt it. So what that means is you can cut off a rhinoceros horn and it grows back just like your fingernails do at the same consistency. And it makes me sad. It deeply hurts me to know that we've killed so many animals for what is essentially a renewable resource. It's quite literally worth its weight in gold. Why would someone need rhinoceros hair, essentially? Well, historically believed to be some kind of medicine of sorts. Folks have believed that it will cure cancer. It will cure impotence, of all things. Now, the science doesn't back this up. It would be like someone taking your hair, taking your nails, grinding it up in a powder, brewing it in a tea or something, and thinking it'll cure your cold or something like that. So it's useless. And I want you to understand that because we've lost so many of these animals, beautiful, large animals. What is essentially your real life unicorn for what is essentially nothing of use to you at all. So now that we know that these big and wonderful animals are in danger and that the biggest problem that they're having is habitat loss and conflict with humans, now is the time that I share with you organizations and things that you can do to better help these species. I'm going to give you a list of organizations to look up and maybe even contribute to in the description. But a few organizations that I'll list right here is Wild Watch Kenya. I actually reference this organization quite often with a few other animals in my work. It's one that I'm very confident in sharing with you that will do a lot to protect animals such as rhinos. But two other ones would be the African Wildlife Foundation. They do a lot of work in making sure these animals still have connections between corridors and landscape spaces in rural parts of Central and East Africa. Last one I'm going to mention to you here is called the International Rhino Foundation. Their whole thing is making sure that they're keeping tabs and reinforcing the protection in local governments for all 5 species of rhino around the world. So, if you made it this far into the video, I have an excellent view for you here. the last tip I'll offer is one of the best things you can do to help these animals is just go see them. I am learning through my work that one of the best things we can do is just go see them in the wild. Visit Africa, visit countries such as Kenya, Tanzania, see them, fall in love with them, and by contributing to their conservation and contributing to the safaris that will take tourists there to find them, you're ensuring that to the local community and to the local governments that these animals are worth protecting, that they are worth more alive than dead for their horn. So go see them, right? Go see them, show these communities, show the world that there is financial investment and profit in their protection. Otherwise, they will disappear. And I can confidently tell you that it is working. When we pay to go see these animals in the wild, whether it's rhinos, it's elephants, it's gorillas, it's chimpanzees, we are financially investing in their protection and in their future. And I don't know about you, I cannot imagine a world, let alone Africa as a whole continent. I can't imagine the world without these animals, right? So let me know what you think. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I want to have a dialogue about this. I'm going to do more videos like this whenever I go on walks. The next one I'm going to discuss are going to be giraffes. Let me know what animals you want me to talk about, because I have so much to say. Thank you for watching this video. I want to go viral with this. I want the world to care about wildlife the way I do. And I want to spread it like a virus. I want everyone to know, one, that these problems are happening, and two, the power is in all of us to do something about it and make a difference. So subscribe, let me know what you think, let me know what you want me to talk about, and remember, every species is worth protecting. I'll see you next time.